If you've ever felt like nothing you do is good enough, you're always the one who cares more, you keep getting rejected, you're stuck in a loop where your wife has all the power and you just keep trying to win her approval, chances are you're stuck in victim thinking. Welcome to the Secure Husband Podcast. Certified professional coach Bruce Abbott, founder of SecureHusband.com, the show where men stop reacting from insecurity and start leading themselves and their marriages from strength, clarity, and confidence. And today's episode is one I get a lot of comments about. Playing the victim, victim thinking. Victim's a heavy word. It can sound harsh, but I don't use it to shame anyone. I use it because I lived it, and a lot of the men that I talk to and coach do too. Victim thinking is when we believe life is happening to us, that other people control our emotions, and that we're powerless, helpless, stuck, and that our only options are to fix, beg, perform, or just flat out give up. And it's exhausting, and it doesn't work. But there's a way out, and it doesn't come from fixing your wife or controlling your relationship. It comes from healing the part of you that believes that I am unworthy, that believes that I am not enough to be loved. And then you connect to that loving, powerful voice that reminds you of the truth that I am worthy, I am lovable. So we're going to walk through how you can do that with the Secure Husband process. This is a journey to stop living from this wounded self and start leading your life from love and truth and inner strength. Because victim thinking, it's a mindset, it's a lens. It's not about whether something painful happened. Of course it did. A rejection. Somewhere along your childhood, rejection. You were hurt. Emotional distance hurts. Being unseen, unheard. As a child and in your marriage, it's painful. But victim thinking is what happens after the pain. It's the story that you tell yourself about what the pain means. So in a marriage, it sounds like, she never chooses me. She never wants me. She doesn't desire me. I'm always the one trying. If she doesn't change, I'll never be happy. It can't feel good unless she gives me what I need. All of those things are victim mindset thoughts. It's the belief that your emotions are at the mercy of someone else and that you're powerless unless they validate you. And I'm going to hammer this home in every podcast episode. That story did not start with your wife. She just triggered it. It started when you were a child. It started with that inner boy inside of you, the one who felt rejected, unseen, not enough as a child for whatever the circumstances might have been. And he's been carrying that wound for years. And now every time your wife pulls away or does something that gets you activated, it's that wound. It's that wound that gets activated. But healing doesn't come from controlling your wife. It comes from connecting to a true source of worth, a loving spiritual core that's been inside of you all along, that loves you unconditionally and tells you, I am worthy. I am loved. With each segment of the Secure Husband process, we have several steps. And the first step each time is just noticing the pattern, just being aware of what is happening. You have to pause long enough and see what's really going on. When you get hurt or triggered, what do? Do you retreat, shut down, get butthurt, sulk? Or maybe you get angry, you lash out, you shame your wife? Or do you start overthinking, obsessing, trying harder to fix it? I'm going to hit the gym a little bit harder today. I'm going to do all the dishes tonight. I'm going to have that kitchen looking perfect. Which again, there's nothing wrong with helping around the house. I have to keep saying that because I get lots and lots of DMs and comments about that. You do your role around the house because it's your role. It's because you help. You're part of a family. You're part of a unit. When you start doing all these chores in hoping for sex as a reciprocal payment, quote unquote payment, that's where it becomes unhealthy. So these are all protective strategies. They're all driven by fear. And the fear comes from that wounded inner boy, that little child inside of you. So your first step is just to pause and notice what's going on. Notice what you're feeling. Notice the thoughts that are running through your mind and just ask yourself, what am I afraid of right now? What's the story that I'm telling myself? And what part of me is actually reacting to this? And usually it's not the grounded man that you want to be. It's that little boy inside of you who feels rejected again. And when you start to notice that pattern, you start to interrupt it. You get better and better at stepping in between that stimulus and response. And then once you start to notice it, then you can choose to lead yourself. This is where you start to really reclaim your power because this is where you make that choice. Because most men stay stuck in the victim mode because they're waiting. They're waiting for their wife to validate them. They're waiting for the perfect moment to speak up. They're waiting for their feelings to magically disappear. But waiting is passive. Healing is active. You have to take action. And this is where you choose to lead yourself. So in this step, you make a conscious decision. I'm not going to abandon myself right now. I'm going to lead my emotions. I'm going to father that inner child. I'm not going to run. I'm not going to sulk. I'm not going to get angry. I'm going to be loving to myself. I'm going to be that father, that parental figure, the friend, that guide that I didn't have when I was little. Now I'm older and I know better, and I know that I can stop and just lead right through this. And then when you do that, you start to gain control, and you stop outsourcing your worth. You stop living like you're powerless. You take ownership, not blame, not shame, but leadership. And you're the one responsible for your healing. And that's actually good news, because that's something you have control over. You have control over nothing outside of you, but you have control of your healing. It means you no longer have to wait on anyone else to change for you to feel better. And that's a wonderful thing. And this is where connecting to a higher guidance is powerful. And you stop looking to your wife to be your source of love, and you connect to something bigger than you, a divine voice of love and wisdom that's always been there. This is where the shift really happens. Whether you call it God, Spirit, the universe, your higher self, whatever you call it for you, this inner guidance is loving and steady and unshaken by emotions. It loves you unconditionally. And it's this guidance that says things like, you're already loved, and you're safe, and you're not alone, and you don't have to prove that you're worthy. And most men in victim thinking are disconnected from this guidance, and they're running on fear and shame and performance. But when you slow down and reconnect to the divine voice of truth, everything shifts. You start to feel grounded. You feel calm. You feel whole. And you stop reacting from anxiety, and you start to respond from wisdom. And this connection really is the foundation of the secure husband process. You connect to that love. And then once you connect to that love, then you heal that inner child. You heal that little boy inside of you who keeps trying to control or earn love because he had no control when he was little. Those emotions were big and scary. And when you're 5, 6, 7, you have absolutely no control. And so this little inner boy, when he's a child, he's alone. He's anxious. He's trying to be good enough to earn love. He's trying to do everything to someone so that they will love them back or not leave. And this part of you, it keeps reliving this old pain as an adult. Whether it's dad never gave me love, or mom only loved me when I was quiet, or I always had to take care of everyone else, whatever your story is from your childhood, that little guy has been driving your marriage more than you think. So instead of shaming him or ignoring him or pushing him down like you have been for years, you sit with him. You let that loving spiritual part of you speak to him. You let that divine love come through you into that little child. And you're like, hey, little guy, I see you. You've worked so hard to be good enough, trying to be perfect, trying to not make any mistakes, but you don't have to anymore because you're already loved. And hey, if you believe in God or the universe, you let him or the universe speak too. Hey, you're my son. You're chosen. I love you unconditionally. You are enough. And you let that divine connection, it just works right through you. And this is how victim thinking begins to dissolve, not by logic, but by love, self-love. And when you start loving yourself, you start loving that inner child, all of a sudden you start seeing these false beliefs for what they are, false. And you start replacing them. This is where you dig deep and you look at what you've been believing. Often without realizing it. I had no idea that I felt this. I always thought that I was fairly confident. I had no idea that subconsciously I didn't really love myself inside. And you start feeling these beliefs like, I'm not lovable unless I'm needed or wanted. I don't matter unless someone wants me. If I don't get what I need, I have to punish or please. And these beliefs kept you trapped. And again, most of them came from childhood experiences, but not truth. So this is where you start to ask yourself, what belief is keeping me stuck? What is the truth that my higher guidance wants me to know? That divine love that's inside, what do they say? And then you start to listen because that's how you replace the lie with truth. When you're saying, I'm powerless unless she changes, the truth is, I have power over how I show up and love myself. I mean, if you're saying to yourself, if she rejects me, I'm worthless. But the truth is, my worth is unshakable. It doesn't come from her. And this mental reprogramming grounded in spiritual love and self-compassion is where the freedom lives. And you're able to live from love and not need. You're no longer trying to control your wife or choose validation. Will your marriage improve? Possibly. Will your wife stay and love you more? Possibly. But you have no control over that. All you can do is heal yourself and see where it goes. And you start living a life from a full cup, not an empty one. And you live your life from speaking your truth calmly and not reactively. You can set boundaries without guilt. You can show love without expecting it back. No giving to get, no strings attached. And you lead your emotions instead of being led by them. Because you're still human. You still feel things. We're human beings. We have feelings. But you're not ruled by those feelings. And your wife will feel the shift. Because a man who leads from love instead of fear becomes magnetic. Not needy, not overbearing, not avoidant. Just secure. And many times that will turn a marriage around. And I'm not going to say that it's going to happen 100% of the time. There may be times where the damage has been done. I know I've got plants in pots that I didn't water them through the hot summer, and they didn't survive. And even though I tried to catch up in watering, it didn't happen. But if I got out there early enough, when things looked like they were getting bad, and it started to wilt a little bit, and I got out there and I did the work, I went out there with the watering can, those plants came back. And so there is hope for your marriage, because victim thinking isn't about weakness. It's just about wounds. And it's about that inner boy who never got the love he needed, and he's still trying to survive. But survival isn't your destiny. Healing is. And I can't say it enough. You don't need to earn love. You don't need to control your wife. You don't need to wait for her to approve of you. You can begin healing now. It's like getting that watering can out before it's too late. You connect to the divine voice of love that has never rejected you. And that voice, that's the foundation of the secure husband process. It's what gives you the courage to notice your patterns and lead yourself and love your inner child back to wholeness. And once you live from that place, you don't chase love. You create it. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to live rejected. You're not a victim. You are loved and you are ready to lead. I hope this podcast has been helpful. If so, hey, give me a review. Hit that subscribe button for more Secure Husband episodes. Share it with someone who you think might really need this message. And visit securehusband.com for more resources and to book one-on-one coaching with me. And I'll see you again on the next Secure Husband podcast. Thanks for listening.